Okay, let's welcome Republican strategist Adam Goodman once again. Adam, you are a communications analyst, an expert. You're also a supporter of President Trump. You must be worried about how he's communicating to the public and to his own administration this week.
Well, let's just say that not everything was on script, to say the least. And, right now, these communications really start to count. The most important things he has to do, the big things, healthcare reform, taking on foreign policy with both hands, trade deals, the wall, perhaps. These are things that are going to start to become sacrificed if he doesn't take care of the little things, and some of the little things this week became big.
Like Nordstrom, for example.
Yeah.
What is that all about when the counselor to the president has to get counseled herself for not giving free commercials to Nordstrom as an executive official?
Well, first of all, I love Nordstrom's. Not to plug Nordstrom's, great place. It's a problem, but some of it's expected. In any new administration, the first couple of weeks, the first month, this is like spring training. I hate to say it that way because you don't want to hear that as people are running the country, but they're going to make mistakes. The big thing is to own up to them and move forward. Again, focusing on the things that really count. Those are the issues, the things, the policies you'll be judged on, not the early mistakes.
You talk about counteracting. President Trump goes on to say that it's been 47 years since the murder rate has been this high.
Interesting fact.
But it's not.
Right. I think with Donald Trump. I mean, we certainly saw this during the campaign. We're still seeing this, obviously, in terms of his presidency. His intention and his central message are right on point. Sometimes I think he has to be a little bit cleaner about how he puts together the information behind it. But there's no question that there's a concern about crime in this country. Chicago, for instance, he talks about it a lot. That's something that's completely, it seems to the outsider, as well as people living there, out of control. And he wanted to communicate, we have to do something about it. And I think in terms of communications, the entire team needs to spend a little bit more time, I think, tightening it up. But in terms of being on message, the message itself, the bigger message, I think they've been there from day one.
And Gorsuch saying that the attacks on an independent judiciary are disheartening and demoralizing. What does that tell you about him as it relates to the confirmation yet to come?
Well, if you wanted an independent judiciary, you certainly are hearing that from Judge Gorsuch, who I think was a phenomenal pick. What the president needs, what any president needs, is to surround himself or herself with advisors who are free and willing and able to speak. That's why you have people like Tillerson as Secretary of State and Wilbur Ross at Commerce. You want these people to step up and tell the president what he needs to hear when he needs to hear it. I think we saw an example of that with Judge Gorsuch this week. I think that's healthy. It might not have been something that the president wanted to hear publicly, but it's something I think that shows the system and the system itself of checks and balances is alive and well.
Is it sort of a defense mechanism? You talked about maybe not what he wanted to hear, but when he hears something not good about himself, it seems like he lashes out in these moments of, well, that's not true, that's false, that's fake news. Is that a sort of defense mechanism for a guy who's only been in office a few weeks?
There is no precedent for Donald Trump in the presidency of the United States, to say the least. And I'm not a psychologist to try to figure out, what the motivations are underneath it. I do think that, he is, if nothing else, unvarnished reality truth, meaning what you see is what you get. That's how he ran his campaign. That's how he intends to run the White House. And all the people are starting to ask for him to rein it in a bit. For instance, stop tweeting so much. I think they're in for a very long wait. This is a president that wants to communicate directly to the public. He's okay if the media and others want to listen in on that conversation, but he doesn't want to be second-guessed or misinterpreted because those who seek to or deign to own or know his mind are speaking for him. I think that's something that we're all having to get used to. I mean, America's woke up the day after the election to a person who's just fundamentally going to do things differently, and I think we are adjusting as much as they are.
It's getting him in trouble to a certain extent. So then, what would you advise him to change as a communications expert yourself?
Well, this is where you parse every word. Every moment has momentum and meaning that it didn't have perhaps during the campaign. In campaigns, we feel a little bit freer to be able to riff a little bit, meaning try things. try things out, test market things. This is not a place really to be test marketing, because this has everything to do with the fate of this country. I think I hope they're learning from this, and that we're going to see a tighter ship moving forward.
Adam Goodman, thank you for your time.
Thank you.